I will start and present you a project we've just started. It's a project funded by ESA, and it's called the Sentinel EOPF Toolkit. And I will also tell you a bit more about the acronym EOPF. This project is together with Development Seed and also SparkGEO. And I will put a strong focus on how we aim to drive community adoption of the Zarr data format, specifically for Copernicus Sentinel data. So what is actually EOPF? EOPF is called the Earth Observation Processing Framework. It's an initiative and activity by the European Space Agency with the aim to move from legacy-based processing frameworks and data formats like the Sentinel-Safe to a new Zarr-based operation. And this is really important and kind of a game changer, at least in the European Earth observation space, that a data provider such as ESA decided not to go for cloud-optimized geotiffs with their data, but made the conscious decision to reformat the data into Zarr. There is currently, or this just started everything, so I will give you today also some links. You can get more information, but this will be much more stable, also like the second half of 2025. But the EOPF processing started at the beginning of this year, and it's a project of 1.5 years. It will go until mid of 2026. And it has two main components. The one is to reprocess the data into a Zarr sample archive. And the aim is to reprocess Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, and Sentinel-3 data from level 0 to level 2 into the Zarr format. And then together with this, because you heard this also already in the morning, without community and without capacity building, there's also no uptake. So the other second very important building block of this activity is also to develop plugins and open source libraries to support users with different type of technologies to use Zarr data and also to develop community resources. But why EOPF? So why the Earth Observation Processing Framework and why Zarr? And there's some very important strategic decisions behind. So first of all, the EOPF activity has already started some years ago at ESA, where they thought about the future and also the developments they saw with cloud-based services, bringing data more to the cloud. And when they started Copernicus data in 2016, they decided for the Sentinel-Safe format, but this was at that time designed a lot for long-term archival. And then in the last 10 years, also the landscape changed quite a bit, and now we actually talk a lot about how we can optimize data formats for the cloud. That's why they also started discussing, is Sentinel-Safe still an option in the format for cloud-based formats, cloud-based workflows. And then there were a lot of discussions and decisions in the end strategically also to think about also not only now but also with upcoming missions in the next 5 to 10 years. The data volumes are already large, but then also they continue to grow. How can ESA enable cloud-optimized data access? And this has been also a big challenge across different Sentinel missions, that the data representation and access of different Sentinel data has been different for each mission. And one aim of this activity is also then to harmonize the data representation and access, at least for Sentinel-1, 2, and 3 data. And then with this, it comes, of course, also to enable or to make it ready that users can then also run AI-driven analysis and applications on top of Sentinel data or with the help of Sentinel data. Why Zarr? This is like, since the project started, a big questions from the community, because with satellite data is cloud optimized GeoTIFF the standard or go-to standard often. And there were also like some strategic decisions behind, but mostly because of the advantages Zarr has, because it is a format that really applies for large multidimensional arrays. It has efficient storage and access because it has really good compression and chunking opportunities. It allows for parallel access and work together with Xarray and Dask, so there's also a really good ecosystem behind. And with that, it comes also that workflows can be developed through lazy loading, so you don't have to actually load the data when you build up your workflow, and the intelligent chunking allows you also to only partially read parts of the data. There are discussions, and this is still ongoing, but as part of this activity, ESA defined a specific EOPF product structure, which means where they defined or thought about how to represent Sentinel missions in the Zarr structure and how to represent it in a good way. And the structure here is that it is grouped in 3 groups, and we have a group on conditions, on measurements and quality, and then additionally there's also information on attributes. And under conditions, there is all the variables that describe the measurement conditions that can include metrological or instrumental or geometric information. Under measurements, there is the actual measurement variables, and these can also contain subgroups. And under quality, there is all the relevant variables or information of flags or quality information we need for Sentinel data. And this looks like this could look like this for example with the Sentinel-2A data. So we see, for example, under measurements. So we have a name of the data file, and then we have a group which is the measurements. And then under measurements, we can have different subgroups for different variables. So for example, here we have a subgroup reflectance, and then again a subgroup for the different resolutions. And then we have the different bands under variables. But then, so now we have this activity ongoing, and they just started and released the first set of Sentinel-2 data over Europe. But the question is, how can we also drive community adoption, that people start using Zarr and also understand the Zarr structure? And because it's a big change of changing one format to the other, and also the general cloud uptake is a big change from how users used to analyze Earth observation data and Sentinel data. And there's also a set of activities. So when we come back to our graphic with the 2 main activities, so the activity to reprocess the Sentinel data just started already, and they release on a rolling basis the Zarr sample archive. And now we have 2 additional activities for community uptake. And the one activity is called the EOPF Sentinel-Zarr Sample Service. So they do the reprocessing, and they also have a set of activities. So if you go to the website, I will link it at the end. They also have a set of webinars regularly each month where they inform you about the state of the sample archive, what data is available, but also the community resources they develop. And then additionally, an initiative or activity just started some weeks ago, the Sentinel EOPF Toolkit. And this is what I will now focus on. So the EOPF Toolkit is a community-driven toolkit that facilitates the adoption of the Zarr data format for Copernicus Sentinel data. What we mean with that is that we have 3 building blocks that will help users to start using the Zarr data and engaging with the Zarr samples archive. The first building block will be that we will release a online book which is called EOPF 101, and this is specifically aimed at people who don't know a lot about anything related to cloud native or cloud optimization or Zarr. So this online book will consist of Jupyter notebooks with really practical workflows, but also introduction chapters that inform you about why do we actually talk about Zarr, what is the advantage of Zarr, why do we talk about the EOPF and the processing framework. And then together with this online book, we will have a set of open source libraries and plugins and case studies where we also work together with organizations who will share some of their organizational workflows and implement these for users to showcase how cloud-native geospatial workflows with Zarr could look like. And we will also run a notebook competition. Some guiding questions we have during we develop these community tools is really put ourselves into the shoes of users, and specifically I keep to repeat myself, but for those who are just starting out with anything cloud. And so what common challenges do users face, and how can we help them to overcome these? And then also what resources make it easier for Sentinel data users to use the new Zarr data format in collaboration with also knowing or seeing, okay, what is actually already available in the landscape and in the ecosystem, because we also don't want to reinvent the wheel. So, for example, we will not replicate a cloud-optimized data formats guide, because Amy already did a great job on that. And at the same time also, how can we foster a community of users who will actively work and contribute working with the data and showcasing their workflows and ideas. And the power of the community is also to really exchange and start discussions, and I think we also see this during this conference today and tomorrow. So the outline of the EOPF 101, I just want to also make a remark here that I talk a lot about it. We will do this. There was unfortunately a delay of the project, and so at the moment we just started. If you go to this QR code, you see the start of the repository, but this is the idea how we will populate the online book step by step. And so there will be a chapter on introducing the EOPF on a very high level, easy to understand level. Then the same also the introduction to Zarr and introduction to EOPF stack. So for those who were in the first session this morning, so all the data that will be reprocessed, there will be also a stack catalog available, which you can then query and access the data via stack. And then in chapter 4 and chapter 5, we package all the additional resources that are being developed. So under chapter 4, tools to work with Zarr, this is where we highlight all the open source libraries and plugins that will be being developed. And EOPF in action, this will then contain a set of really from end-to-end workflows to showcasing and also comparing the workflows between Zarr and Sentinel-Safe, and to really see the advantage of the cloud-optimized format. An overview of the libraries and plugins and the case studies that are being planned. So the libraries and plugins, we will explore Zarr and Stack. So we will contribute and extend to PyStack and also enable the use of Stack with QGIS. Then there will be also examples with R, how we can use Zarr data with R. We will also work on extending the GDAL driver for supporting Zarr. And we will have a plugin, or not a library, on T-tiler multidimensional. So there will be a Docker prepared for starting T-tiler tailored to EOPF Zarr. Again, this might be quite technical, but like for each of the libraries and plugins, there will be again a community and the educational resource to really understand why we need this plugin and what community and what problem it solves. And then case studies we will select. They are divided for technical and thematic, but for each technical case study or library and plugin we develop, we will have a case study. So how to use Zarr with QGIS, how to use Zarr with R, multi-scale Zarr, and dataset screening with thriveGEO and Longboard. And on the thematic application side, we work together with, we call them champion users, and with organizations, and there we will implement like real workflows, for example, on wildfire assessment, where we then also take different data available from the EOPF, like Sentinel-3 and Sentinel-2, or from a different application area, monitoring coastal dynamics in cloud-prone region using Sentinel-1. So what's next? So the EOPF 101, at least the first 3 chapters and parts of chapter 4 and 5, will be launched during the Living Planet Symposium. This is like one big conference in Europe for the Earth observation community run by ESA, and this will happen in June. So this is where we will launch the EOPF 101 fully as an online book, and then we will also start a notebook competition in October this year, which will run until January next year. Yeah, and with this, I'd like to thank you. So here's some links to the EOPF Toolkit. As I said, we had some delays, and this is just about to be built up. And but if you want to learn more about the EOPF sample service and also like what data is reformatted and processed, then please go to this website, zarr.eopf.copernicus.eu. And yeah, then thank you. And are there any questions? Oh, thank you.
Thanks for the great talk. It's really cool to see Zarr being used at such a high level. I have 2 quick questions. One is the Zarr the only way that the data is being distributed, or is there like also some other? Because sometimes people have like an CDF and then they're like, oh, we've got Zarr and the Zarr is duplicated. Like, is the Zarr the only source? That's the first question. The second question is like, does the Sentinel-2 data get updated live? And if so, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so the first question, yes. So ESA made this decision to really go all into Zarr. But that's why they also call it like sample service. So there's like a lot of things to consider and to really think about, and that's why they started now this activity to engage with the community, to collect feedback. For example, they define the first EOPF product, like how this could look like, but this will now also extend and revised again because community feedback is taken into account. So yes, Zarr will be the only one, but there will be changes along the way to really optimize it and find the ideal setup.
To be clear, I think it's good that Zarr is the only one.
Yeah. And the second question, sorry, it was like how it is updated with Sentinel-2. Yeah. So for now, as I said, this project is going until mid of next year. So they start to do with Sentinel-2, Sentinel-1, and Sentinel-3, and by mid next year, they want to have the full archive reprocessed. But this is now, of course, it takes a while. And so it's like now continuously updated. And then they will also offer this on a continuous basis. So they really want the community to move from Sentinel-Safe to Zarr.
Cool. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for presenting. You mentioned the notebook competition. Could you just talk a little bit about what that's going to be like? It sounds like an interesting concept.
Yeah, so this is also being defined, but the idea is, and that's why we also pushed it later to the from the project, is that we provide introduction resources like the EOPF 101 or some example workflows, and then we invite users to test out anything related to either the plugins or the libraries, or also implement their own workflow. And there will be this time between October and January where they can work on, and they will also have some regular support if there are questions. We will have check-in clinics. And then we will, after January, we will package everything, and we will also showcase what users did and also collect feedback. So it's really an engagement where we also want to have like a kind of a conversation, because usually when you publish resources, then people read through it, but you don't know if it is helpful. And with the notebook competition, we want to have this two-way street where then participants who participate in the competition also have an opportunity to ask questions, to give feedback, and so on.
Hi, Dean from SAFE. I'm just curious if you could say a few more words about the use cases, application areas. I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, who are you partnering with for those? Is that sort of done within your group, or is a lot of the work done by sort of an end user group that are applying it in different places in the EU? So I'm just curious.
Yeah. So you see, like we have these use cases. Like we partner with. Some case studies will come from us, like from Development Seed, from SparkGEO and thriveGeo. But then we also partner with 5 champion users, and it's like a university in Leipzig, a university in Münster, but also Spacebell and DHI in the Netherlands. And depending on their area of expertise, so like for example, the University of Münster, they like really active in the R community, and they will develop a case study on Zarr with R. But then DHI, for example, they are really the experts on anything coastal dynamics and water, and that's why they focus on the workflow for how we can use Sentinel-1 data in coastal monitoring examples. So it will be thematic and technical, but with a focus on, once we have the technical example as well, also like to bring everything together and showcasing end-to-end workflows for different application areas.
And presumably additional case studies are going to be added to that list over time?
Yeah. So this is only a selection. So we already have, like with these champion users, like 3 other thematic examples. So like, I don't know if you have background knowledge on Copernicus, but the Sentinel missions, they support specific application areas. So Sentinel-1 is for coastal monitoring, then Sentinel-2 is for land-based monitoring, Sentinel-3 is a combination on climate and land-based monitoring. So that's where we also looked at, we have a diversity in different application areas.
Thank you.
All right, okay, there's one more question, I think, yeah.
And you have a Jupyter hub that people can use to access the data. So they set up as a nice environment. They're close to the data. How does that compare to if users are not next to the data? So they're using all these tools, but they are in, say, a different cloud provider.
You mean the Jupyter, like how it compares the Jupyter hub with, like if people do it in their own cloud environment?
Right, with the, like where the data are hosted, are there any barriers for users using the Zarr data from other locations rather than being in your cloud provider?
No. Like, so you could so you can replicate the setup of the Jupyter Hub easily. So if you have this environment file, then it doesn't make a difference. It just it's more for convenience, just to make sure people can quite quickly start actually working with the data instead of setting up the whole infrastructure. But the Jupyter Hub is also more like for training and testing purposes, but it's not like as your operational environment you can use.